Joining me now, though, on the MP Vivo Heating and Air Conditioning Hotline, the head basketball coach of the Louisville Leopards, Tom Siegfried. Coach, how are you today, sir?
I'm doing good. I'm doing good. Thanks for having me on.
Well, thank you very much for calling in. Louisville 13-9 on the campaign, and I applaud your program for getting the 22 games in. Not many schools have been able to get the 22 game regular season in. Did you guys have to do an awful lot of scrambling in this COVID season?
Yeah, it was a grind in February. There's no question about that. But, a couple things that we wanted to make sure when the season started is that we kept this season as normal as possible for these young men. And, when we got to the end of January, I think played a couple times where it was 5 games in 7 days, which, isn't ideal. But at the end of the day, we made the best of it, and the kids got their games in. And, we kept it as normal as we possibly could in this crazy year.
Well, I'll tell you, impressive schedule. I mean, you had Boardman on the schedule. You had some familiar foes from the old conference that you were in with Alliance and Canton South. You played Canton McKinley, North Canton Hoover, Canfield Fitch. You had some really good schools out of Summit County with Norton and Talmadge. Cardinal Mooney on this schedule as well. This was a balanced schedule. You guys played up and also played some very impressive teams.
Yeah, so we started this about 6-7 years ago. We played, I think, one of the best D2 schedules in the state each and every year. We also had Olentangy Orange, a very, very good team from down in Columbus. Hoban we picked up this year when we had a COVID game get canceled, and like you said, we have the likes of Lake, McKinley, Hoover, Maslin, which we were able to beat at Maslin, Boardman, Fitch. So we definitely played the whole gamut. I think we were talking the other day. There's 5 teams on our schedule that actually won their league this year, which we're very proud of. And we even had a game against Cheney get canceled late in the year. We had them scheduled as well. So we feel like we're prepared. But when you get to the tournament, you got to go out and perform and execute, and hopefully things go your way.
You're coming into this tournament rather hot. You've won 5 of the last 6 games. Victories over Orville, Massillon, Washington, Mineral Ridge, Canton Central Catholic, Notre Dame Cathedral Latin. The only loss, and it was a competitive game against Uniontown Lake, which is a pretty solid basketball program in its own right. You're coming in on a really, really nice roll, Coach.
Yeah, we've always stressed here in my 13 years of breaking the season up into thirds. The first third of the year is really about evaluation, where we at, what we got to improve on. Second half of the year, we try to make sure we're making those improvements, and then we want to see that growth in the third half. And, you play teams like Hoover and McKinley early on, and then we saw the growth in the middle of the year. Olentangy Orange, we battled pretty well against them, and at the end of the year, it started paying off, like you said, with the Maslin win at Maslin, and really playing competitive. I think we had it down to a 2-point game against Lake with about 3 minutes to go at Lake, and that's a tough place to play. And then we obviously were able to get that big tournament win against NDCL, and we feel like we're playing some pretty good basketball right now.
Tom Siegfried, the head basketball coach of the Louisville Leopards, joining me on the MP Vivo Heating and Air Conditioning Hotline. Coach, one of the things that I've been really impressed with, I'm looking at your schedule and the results, when you guys win, you tend to hold your opponents to under 50, no more than 55 points. Some solid defense.
Yeah, we really try to stress defense. You can't really predict offense, and you do the best you can of putting the guys in positions to score how they, possibly are more favorable in scoring. But at the end of the day, it comes down to holding your opponents and trying to do the things that you can with effort and hustle and 50-50 balls and all those types of intangibles. And you can't predict off nights from shooting, but we like to think that we still have a chance to win on nights that we don't shoot well, and that kind of helps you with your overall record. And it's allowed us to have 7 winning records in a row and really have this program going in the right direction.
Coach, how tough is it to teach kids defense in the culture that is, I want to get mine world?
Yeah, it's definitely changed over the years. I tell people I played in the old Federal League with when I was at Alliance, and we would have games that were in the 40s and the 30s at times. And, not that that's necessarily great to watch, but it was a different world of playing defense there. And I think nowadays you just have so many guys that are so offensively talented. And you see it even at the higher levels in college and pro. It's really, really hard nowadays to guard the ball. It's very difficult to take away a lot of strengths when guys are shooting threes from 22 to 25 feet. It spaces the floor out, and you have to really get guys to buy in, and really it's just about percentages. You try to make the other team take, shots that are going to favor you and your percentages of them not going in, and then you live with it, and you try to keep them to one opportunity each time down the floor.
Tom Siegfried, the head basketball coach of the Louisville Leopards, joining me on the MPVivo Heating and Air Conditioning Hotline. Coach, you're going to go up against a familiar foe tonight in a familiar gym. It wasn't that long ago. Louisville was in the same conference as Salem, and you get to take on the Quakers tonight in Salem. I'm sure that you've seen this program.
Yeah, no doubt about it. Lost a little bit of connection with it as far as over the last couple of years. But overall, obviously still check the scores and still to try to stay somewhat connected to what's going on in that league. And, it used to be the NBC, now it's the EBC once we got booted out. I know Salem got a piece of it this year with Canton South and West Branch. And it's been an interesting run because the head boys basketball coaches at Canton South and West Branch actually played for me here at Louisville. So I was able to, obviously take part in those, and very proud of those two young men, Luke Conley and Michael Brown. And then Salem has a ton of juniors on that team. I think they're going to be very competitive next year as well. And, we're just looking forward to some good competition tonight and two teams squaring off. I think they're the 7 seed, we're the 9, and it should be a fun game over at Salem tonight.
Well, you're certainly used to the rather physical play that this conference brings to the table. And truth be told, Coach, I mean, you've played a number of teams in this conference in your schedule. I don't know if that was by design or not, but you did play Alliance. You've played Canton South. It's a league that plays very physical.
Yeah, there's no doubt. It's always been a very physical league, and defense is very much stressed in this league, and baskets are hard to come by at the end, especially in the fourth quarter. And, we also had Marlins in our schedule in that league, and we tried to play some of the local teams, keep those rivalries going. We had such great rivalries with teams like Marlington and South and Alliance before we were out of the league, and it's nice to play those teams again and be quite honest, you have a shorter bus ride than some of the trips that we've been making.
Coach, let's talk about some of your players. You have a few seniors on this team, and I'm looking at your roster. You got some length as well.
Yeah, we have a nice balance this year, and coming into the year, we only had 2 returning letter winners, and we talked about kind of making that transition from a very successful JV team last year to varsity basketball. It's a big jump, but we have 5 seniors. We have 2 lettermen back, and our 2 captains are Dakota Hoffman and Corey Noble. Corey's a 4-year starter. Dakota's been a 3-year letter winner as well. Both of them are been around the program for a while. And then we have Brock Pickens, Kurt Herron, and Connor King that rounds out that top 5 as far as seniors. And then 2 of our other leaders this year are Will Ajancic, lead us in score and has about 55, I believe, threes or so this year. Right around 12 a game. And then Tyler Bolden, who's second in scoring but first in rebounds and assists. He's a junior, Will's a sophomore, and we just have a nice balance of new guys, young guys, and also some veteran leadership as well.
Coach, how is it when you get these kids that were very successful in JV ball, and a lot of these kids were the product of JV ball last year? How do you coach them up to get to the varsity level and do it successfully like you have this year?
It's just all about understanding your role, and I think you brought up earlier about teaching defense. Another tough thing in this day and age is making people understand, making players understand it's okay to have a role as a defensive stopper, a guy that goes in and maybe guards the other team's best player, and maybe he's not going to be asked to score as much, or a guy that facilitates the offense, or a guy that goes in late in the game to knock down a big shot. Maybe you're more of an offensive guy, and just getting guys to fall into the roles. And then, you know what, it's just the speed of the game. Until you're actually out there playing varsity basketball, it's hard for young people to understand the difference between the lower levels and then, you go up against a Camp McKinley or a Hoban or, some of these guys that have guys that are going to move on and play big-time college basketball. It's something you can talk about, but until they actually experience it, you really don't understand.
Yeah, and the other part of this, everyone wants to start, and you try to tell a kid, hey, look, I mean, just because I'm not starting you doesn't mean you're not going to get minutes, and it also doesn't mean that you're not going to end the game on the basketball floor. I try to tell as many kids as possible, it doesn't matter whether you start a game. It's what is important is what you do when you're in the game and if you are good enough to be on that floor at the end of the game.
100%. You're absolutely right about that. And, that's a kind of a lost idea, a concept, because it's, obviously very rewarding to get your name called and have the spotlight on you and run out at the beginning of the game. But to finish a game, any coach will tell you, is going to be your 5 best players from that night that are going to be on the floor at any given time. And, it's just it's a different world that we live in. It's a different culture. There's a lot of, AAU programs that obviously are having smaller amounts of players on the team, so they get to play more, they get to start more, and it's tough to kind of combine all those different groups and make people understand their role in the team.
And let's be honest, AAU basketball has been a godsend because it's certainly contributed to the fact that our basketball in northeastern Ohio has become a lot better. Specifically in the Mahoning Valley, our basketball has become a lot better. But that's one of the downfalls of AAU. It's not perfect. And the fact that AAU, everyone's used to being on very small teams. You're used to having some playing time. And then when you get to a varsity basketball team that might go 8, 9, 10 deep, that might be cutting into your playing time. But you also have to understand and look at the bigger picture.
No doubt about it. And it has improved the overall play of the game. There's no question about that. Guys were, possibly playing 3, 4, 5 months before AAU came about, and maybe you went to one camp in the summer and you played some pickup games. Now you go on an AAU circuit. My son's going to be a 9th grader next year, and we'll play 8, 9 tournaments going through May, and then you pick back up in July, and then you play fall ball, and then you go into your season. There's so much more play going on and so much more competition. It creates for better basketball. It creates for more athleticism and higher level players. But at the same time, like you said, at certain times it's different. You don't have guys game planning for you in AAU, where you come into a high school season, all of a sudden they know what your strengths and weaknesses are, and you got to work to try to make your weaknesses your strengths and understand what other teams are trying to take away.
Tom Siegfried, the head basketball coach of the Louisville Leopards, joining me on the MP Vivo Heating and Air Conditioning Hotline. Coach, I'm looking at this Division II tournament, and the idea that both districts smash into each other and create one big district. My goodness, is the talent in Division II. The spotlight is big because there are a number of teams that have a serious argument to say we can be district champion.
Oh, there's no doubt. I mean, when you look across the Northeast District here, I mean, when you're looking at teams like Warrensville Heights, Bookdale, and St. V's, and then you get into Struthers, who had an unbelievable year, Cheney, who plays anybody and everybody, lost to a powerful Jackson team by 3. You look at a Perry, you look at a Poland, which we may run up against in a district semi. There's just so many good teams. Ursuline, I really believe, is a dark horse. I think they're playing their best basketball right now as well. A lot of great teams out there, and a lot of those teams I named that are on the upper echelon, they don't shy away. When you look at a Bookdale, St. V's, Warrensville Heights, and Cheney, along with us, we play all those teams. We play all those D1 teams, and a lot of times it's very, very close games, and I think you're going to see a very competitive Division II district and regional.
And this is the reason why you load up your schedule, especially if you're an independent. You load that schedule up because, and I've been trying to explain this to people. Look, in high school football, you're not going to get the invitation. I mean, you're the only way you get the invitation is if you're in the top 8, or starting in this year, this next year, I should say, it'll be top 12. but everyone gets an invite to the basketball tournament, whether you're 0-22 or 22-0. So having said that, if I got a team that I believe is going to be good enough to compete on the district or regional level, I'm loading my schedule up and I'm going to have these kids challenged because come tournament time, they're going to be ready if they played a really tough schedule.
Oh, no doubt. There's nothing that we will see in this tournament that we haven't already seen. Now, can I predict how you're going to go out and play or shoot that given night? Obviously not, and no coach can. But as far as, you go up against a Poland or a Cheney or a Buchtel, we've seen those types of players. We've seen that type of athleticism. We've seen those type of presses already over and over and over again. And it's not anything that's going to be shocking to us. And that's why we do what we do. And, a lot of people looked at a couple years ago being kind of pushed out of the NBC because of a lot of our success we had as a negative. And honestly, the last 2 years has really turned into a positive because we've been able to build our schedule the way we want it now. There's no games that we have to play. We can kind of pick and choose. And, it led us to the district final last year and played a very competitive game against Triway. And then, hopefully it leads us to another district final this year and see what happens from there.
That's one of the blessings of being an independent. You hit the nail on the head, Coach. You don't have a responsibility to play your league schedule. Now, the backside of that is you got to get 22 opponents instead of having a built-in schedule.
Absolutely, and that's what we try to work on. Like, for instance, next year I think we have 17 games scheduled already, and it's a balance. You don't want to get off kilter. It's obviously very tempting at times to try to load up a home or away or whatever, and you got to keep it balanced. You got to kind of keep the independent tournament games that you might play in or the classics. You got to keep those to a minimum, even though you like to do those things, because you still want to give your people in the county a flavor to come out and watch you and stay relevant. And that's what we've, I think, done a really good job of here is keeping the local flavor. You brought up earlier a lot of the local teams that we normally play, we're still playing. And then you throw in a Hoover, a Lake, a McKinley, very local teams that keep our county relevant very much there.
Coach, what is the one thing that Salem does really well that has you concerned about tonight?
I think they mix up their defenses very well, and they're very long. They're a lot of guys that are 6'2" to 6'4", and can really create problems in the passing lanes. I think that they really do a nice job of keeping you off balance. And, anytime you have to prepare for a team that does multiple things well, obviously you can't spend as much time on really critiquing one thing. You have to be ready for numerous items that they might throw at you.
Tom Siegfried, the head basketball coach of Louisville, joining me on the MPVivo Heating and Air Conditioning Hotline. Couple more things before we let you go. Do you go into any game against your former divisional foe with any animosity? In other words, do you use that to try to get your kids jacked up? Hey, they threw us out of the league. Let's really stick it to them tonight.
Yeah, no, I don't do that, but I'm sure in the back of their mind, it's only human nature that that they have obviously a built-in sense of we used to have this team in our league, and that's only natural. I'm sure Salem has that as well. We want to show them how much we've improved through those last 2 years as well. But at the end of the day, it's one game, and it's a tournament game, and many of times we played our league opponents when we were in the league, and then had to play them again in the tournament. And it's a completely different experience. There was times where we would lose during the regular season and then beat them in the tournament, and other times where maybe we won the league and then we lost in the tournament. So it's one of those things that we're going to go over there and we're going to play Louisville basketball, and hopefully it's good enough to get the win and move on to the districts.
Whoever wins this district championship, and I can tell you right now, Poland, you guys, Salem, West Branch, Cheney, you're all going to be vying. And I just named 5 schools, with no disrespect to Ashtabula, Edgewood, Marlington, or Lakeview. And I suppose we'll add those schools in. But, the 5 schools that come to mind are the 5 that I just mentioned. Right. Whoever wins this district championship, how well prepared is this tournament going to be for that team that goes on to the regionals?
Well, I really think that whoever wins this district, it's going to be different because I think that you're looking at teams such as ourselves and Cheney that play that type of schedule to get you ready for a regional game. And, then you have, obviously, not to their dismay, but Salem's and West Branches, as we just talked about, that, really, get kind of locked down with their games in their league and don't have an opportunity maybe to go outside of the league as much as we're able to. But I really feel like that we would be prepared. I feel like Cheney would be prepared. And I know Poland with Coach Grisdale, very well coached team. We've ran into each other before, and I know they would be very prepared as well. So I think it's just one of those things of where you're at in your program. And, I know some of these coaches at Salem and West Branch very well, and they're, are upstart programs. They're doing a lot of good things right now, especially within their league. And I'm sure they're looking to build on their success in their league and see where that carries them in the tournament.
I'm figuring the first team to 50 probably wins tonight's game, Coach.
Yeah, I would agree with you on that. I think that that might be a magical number of 50, 55 points. I think we'll get this win tonight. I don't think it's going to be a very high-scoring game, and I think the team that, honestly knocks down more shots. I think there's going to be shots to be had, but you got to knock down shots, and really you can overanalyze basketball all day long, but it really comes down to making open shots.
Hey, Coach, best of luck to you in tonight's game against Salem.
Thanks for having the Leopards on. Appreciate it.
You got it, sir. Tom Siegfried, he is the head basketball coach at Louisville High School.